Let me ask you something. Have you ever done everything right? Followed the plan, showed up consistently, and yet nothing seems to change? You've been hitting the gym, eating clean, putting in the work. But the results, they're late to the party. And you're wondering, is this even working? By the end of this episode, I want you to know one thing. Your work is not wasted. It's just not visible yet. Because progress often looks like nothing until suddenly it looks like everything. You've heard of the overnight success. That's for other people. They see one day you're doing this and the next day you're doing that. But there are stages in that journey where that individual did not give up. They could see no results, yet they continued to do the same things over and over again. Because they knew that at some point there would be some form of change. Imagine planting a seed, for example. You water it daily, you give it sunlight, you protect it. A week passes, nothing. Another week, still nothing. Most people quit there. They dig it up and think it's dead. But what they don't realise is the roots are growing underground. And that's you right now. If you're putting in effort, you're training, you're building, you're creating, it may not look like it's working, but something is happening. I remember, obviously I've written sort of 4 books now. I remember the first book. It took ages to get the first sale. And you think, oh, is this ever going to happen? And now it's doing pretty well. Podcast, my first ever podcast, 1 view, 2 views, and now, we've got a good following and pretty decent number of views. And even then, again, you could compare where you are to where you want to be and say, well, it's not there. It's probably not for me, not going to bother. But this is where you still have to continue putting in the effort, even though there are no immediate results. Imagine there's a hidden meter counting every time you showed up. So you've gone to the gym, there's a little +1 added on, a little tally. You send that email, another tally against the emails. You write a new chapter in your book, or you make that call, again, a +1. But you can't see the meter. Obviously, imagine it's like a chalkboard in the background, and you've got these tallies there, but you don't have access to it. You can't actually really see the tallies. I mean, you could to an extent, monitor it yourself, but you can't physically see what's happened unless you were going to, from today, actually measure exactly how many minutes and hours and things you did, which, that would be great, but a lot of people don't have the time to do that. But most people give up at 98 ticks. They've done, gym for 98 days or been 98 times. And then they stop. Or they go start a new sport, like, I don't know, judo or boxing or jiu-jitsu or Thai boxing, whatever. And they go 98 times. And they're like, well, I've not gotten any better, really. And they don't realise that it's just the next 2 sessions. That's when it's going to all change. Sometimes progress is on a straight line trajectory. Other times it's like steps. If you imagine steps in your house, nothing happens. Oh, big jump. Again, no progress. Oh, big jump. Results don't show up on your timeline. You would want for, you start a business and tomorrow you get 1 million sales. It doesn't work like that. But you have to still be willing to put in the time, energy, and effort. Water doesn't boil at 99 degrees. Although it's only 1 degree out, nothing happens till 100. That's how it works. But you still keep boiling the water, even though at 96, 97, 98, nothing's really happening. Bamboo doesn't grow above ground for 5 years, but when it goes 90 feet in 6 weeks. Does it really grow 90 feet in 6 weeks, or is it 90 feet in 6 years? Or 5 years, whichever way you want to think about it. Your muscles don't grow in the gym, they grow later during rest, during sleep. Amazon didn't turn profit for nearly a decade. Jeff could have quit at any point in that journey, but he continued to do the same things and had this vision. Most people are quitters. Just because you can't see progress doesn't mean it's not building in the background, it's not stacking up. If you want to pause for a second and really think about this, you're not just chasing results, you're building an identity. Every time you act in alignment with the person you want to become, you're voting for that future version of yourself. You're backing that guy up. You're becoming someone with discipline, with resilience, with vision. Because imagine there's a radio signal. Every habit, every action, every sacrifice is broadcasting a signal to your future self. You may not hear the feedback today, but the signal is being received. It is getting documented somewhere in the ether that you are working hard, that you are putting in the effort. People start YouTube channels, don't they? They post for 6 weeks, nothing, and then they quit. Or another guy does that same thing, and then he's got 10,000 subs. Athletes train for years with no medals, and then they win something, and then from there it continues to grow. Or maybe they are good athletes, they win a lot of domestic medals, but nothing happens on the international stage, and then one day they get into the Olympics and they win it. Writers can write 5 or 6 books, nothing comes from it, but their 7th book, their 8th book, wow, smashed it. The shift looks sudden. For people who didn't see all of that backdrop, they say, oh wow, this person just smashed it overnight. But they didn't see all this other stuff. And that's where resilience comes in. Some days you're going to ask yourself, what's the point? You're tired, you're not seeing results, it feels like no one cares, you feel like just going back to doing a regular job, because that is instant, isn't it? You do a job, you get paid at the end of the month, and you can see that in your bank account. But that's what kills dreams a lot of the time. Because we should measure inputs, not outcomes. We've talked before about planning or focusing on the seeds that are planted, not the harvest you reap. You could track it, as I said. You could use a calendar to actually mark, look, how many times have I done this? How many hours? How many minutes? And if you have a little game yourself, have a guess as to where you think the big change will happen. You could say, okay, well, I'm going to gym every day. That's fine. I'm going for this many minutes. This is what I'm doing. When do I think I will see that visual change? Could be a little game for you. Oh, 6 months, I reckon that's when it's going to be. Oh, I've written this book or I've started this business. When do I think I'm going to get my first sale? Now, that doesn't mean to say if you don't hit that you should stop. It's just a game. Because if you say, look, first sale was in a month and it doesn't happen, just say, okay, I'll keep working on it, but let's say now 6 weeks. So another 2 weeks after the month. And that can maybe help you to keep it fun, I suppose. Delay judgment. Don't judge your progress for a certain amount of time. Don't judge it after day one. Say, look, I'm not going to judge it for a year. Let's see what happens after a year, and then we can reconvene. Now, I'm not saying that you should always keep doing stuff if there are no results. Sometimes some things are worth quitting, but the point of this is to say most people quit before something actually happens. And have a mission. Remember, you're not failing, you're forging. In this moment, you're laying bricks for something that will last. I'm sure you've driven past, houses being built. You see the foundations, you see it's like a building site, isn't it? And for whatever reason, you don't drive past that route for a month. And suddenly there's loads of houses there. You're like, wow, that's amazing. Happened overnight. It didn't happen overnight. People were there day in, day out, building, doing the groundwork and the building work and the plastering and the roofing, etc. And then because it's something that you haven't seen for a while, it feels like it was overnight they did it. But it wasn't. The same goes for yourself as well. Ice cubes melt suddenly, but only after being heated gradually. Safes crack open, but only after the final dial. You could have a 20 combination. The last one is what opens it. Success compounds, but only for the ones who don't stop too soon. So if you're tired today, don't quit. If it's quiet right now, don't stop. If the results are silent, know this. They're not missing, they're just late. They're on the way. You're not behind, you're mid-process, and you are closer than you think.